Thank you everyone for joining our session. And today I want to share some experience on open source projects in modern data stacks. First of all, I want to introduce myself. I'm William, and I am an Apache Software Foundation member. And Apache Software Foundation member, that means there's a lot of Apache software open source projects like Hadoop, Spark, and other things. And I used to work at IBM, Teradata, CSCC, and also I used to work at the CTO of analysis and a senior big data director of Lenovo. And today I want to share some experience on how to build your big data platform using some new open source projects. There's many requirements on big data, especially now we have some new concept we call it data community. That means not only the engineer, but a lot of product manager, UX designer, or your sales analyst, or your boss will use the data directly, not only the engineers. And then there will be many new open source projects in the world. And there's also new concept we call it modern data stacks. What is modern data stacks? That means there will be a set of tools that can handle the big data analysis. It's not only one tool. In old days, perhaps we have, for example, we have a Microsoft SQL Server or Teradata or something like that. But in nowadays, we will have many different open source projects or tools to handle the whole big data issues. So I'd like to introduce some of the open source projects. For example, now we will have many different data sources. There is some open source project to collect the data from different data sources. For example, you can collect the data from Google Analytics, or you can collect the data from your database, or from an Excel file, or some other files. Thus, you can integrate all data into your data warehouse to do some data analysis. So there's many open source data integration projects such as Arabyte, which is from the American, and Citano is from Apache Software Foundation, and Jitsu is from Japan, and the DataX is from China, and the RudderStack is from also from American. So this is open source data integration tools, and also we have many data warehousing. I know that Snowflake is very popular now, but we are talking about open source data warehouse. So I think TrinoDB is very popular in American, and the ClickHouse is very popular in Russian and Europe, and Peanut is very popular in American, and Iceberg is also a project popular in American and in China, and the Materialize I think is very popular in Europe, and the Doris, Starox, and SelectDB, Kitten, I think they are very popular in China. And also we have some open source projects to do the transformation. Data transformation means you can transform the data from one column to many other column, or you want to calculate it to do some calculation in big data. So there's some open source projects like Flink. I think is Apache open source projects, but I think is born in Europe, and now it's very popular in China. And also DBT is very popular in the US, and the Beam, Apache Beam, now is very popular in US because it's a Google-based open source projects. and the Spark, and I think is almost very popular all over the world. And the Semanza, I think, is popular in Europe. And also we have some open source projects in orchestration area. Um, Big data orchestration, that means it can orchestrate many workflows because you will have many big data jobs. For example, perhaps you have a 1,000 SQL jobs. So you have to arrange them. The task one, the task A is the first to run, and then you ran task B, then you have to run task C. How to orchestrate them together? This orchestration tools. And I think in the world is a very popular. Airflow is very popular all over the world. But now we had another orchestration tools called Dolphin Scheduler. I think it's a very it's easy uh, for non engineering based users to use big data orchestrations because it's drag and drop to create some workflows. And Flight is very popular in AI and machine learning workflow orchestration tools. And the Dexter and Perfect is SaaS, very popular in American. And also, uh, there's many BI and analysis tools. It's open source. Then you can use them to analyze your big data, like such as a superset, eChart, AntV, and Querybook, or Redash, or Metabase, or Ladash. Is this a very popular open source projects in all over the world? And also, I know that ChatGPT is very hot these days, and actually, ChatGPT is the model to train the ChatGPT is based on Ray. It's also open source projects, and also we have a PyTorch and Jupyter and TensorFlow and MindStore and Paddle and OpenMLDB. These are some open source AI projects. So you can see there's many open source modern data stack tools, and you can choose one if you want. And today I want to uh, introduce you some basic idea of how to use these kind of modern data stack tools to build your own data analysis. Now we call the ETLT architecture. You know, we have perhaps you have many data, but your data is stored, for example, in the SAS or in your spreadsheet or in your cloud database. So you have to extract the data from different data sources, and then you will do we call a transform that we can like this kind of data to load into your data warehouse. And this process we call the ETL, and extract the load, transform, and the load. And then when you ETL the data source into your data warehouse, you can do a lot of business transformation in your data warehouse, in your Snowflake or in your TrinoDB or in your Hadoop. Then perhaps some business analyst or data application developer or if you can write a SQL, even a product manager can write a SQL in Snowflake or TrinoDB to do your data analysis. And also some data scientists can use the AI tools to do this, to do more advanced analysis algorithms. And for a small company, you can use this big data architect to build a very easily used big data application. Now in nowadays we have two different type of data. One we call it real-time data, and the other we call it batch data. And real-time data, that means you have to collect the data real time, and you have to compute the data real time, and you have to analyze the data real time. Now we have cTunnel. It's Apache open source projects, and it's free, and you can collect the data no matter in your IoT devices or your database or in your spreadsheet or in your log or in your SAP or ERP or SAM software. You can collect the data real time, and then you can load them into the Kafka. Kafka is we call it's middleware that can store the message in real time, or you can just load the data into your real time data warehouse. For example, you can load the data into the ClickHouse or into the AWS Redshift, or you can load the data to other real time data warehouse. And also you can send it into your alert system. That means you can send it to the API. You can alert some IoT devices is wrong or not. You can monitor the whole real-time data. And the other way we call it batch time data. And you can also use the cTunnel to load the data from your spreadsheet or from your Google Doc or from your Salesforce or some other SaaS, or you can extract the data from Oracle, from MySQL or SQL Server or some database, and it's very easy to use. That means you needn't to be an engineer or a programmer. You can just use a very easy script to do this kind of things, and then you can load the data into your data warehouse or your data lake or your OLAP engine. And also, if you want to do some data analysis, to write some SQL to handle the whole orchestration, the whole workflow orchestration, you can use the Apache Dolphin scheduler. And you can just drag and drop to create the ETL jobs or your Hadoop jobs or your Flink jobs. And also you can manage, we call it ML ops, machine learning ops, and you can manage your AI training process by Dolphin scheduler. So it's something like a traffic light in big data platform. And then you can also use the cTunnel to load the data from your data warehouse back to your SaaS or back to your database. So it's simply big data architecture for small or medium enterprise. And then I want to introduce two of the projects. One is we call it Apache cTunnel, and it's in Apache Incubator. And uh, because we have so many data sources, so that's why we have to use Apache cTunnel. There's so many data sources, Google Doc and other database. And sometimes you have to use we call real-time and batch data together. And you have to use to monitor the whole extract the data process. So cTunnel is very easy to use projects that you can extract the data from different data sources, and then you can load them into different data target, and the performance is very good. And now it has uh, more than 100 connectors to help you to synchronize the data to anywhere. So you can see there's many like cloud connectors or database connectors or SaaS connectors, and it is free because it's open source projects, and so I think it's very useful open source project to integrate your data from different database or from different cloud or from different SaaS into your database or Snow or to your data warehouse. And also, I think it's some very good features. For example, it's very easy to deploy and use. You needn't to deploy Hadoop or Flink or Spark, because it is not depends on Hadoop environment. And I think now is you can deploy only one server that can synchronize many records in 1 second. So I think it's easy to use and easy to deploy, and the performance is very good. And it's use a SQLite code. I think everyone can use the Citano to synchronize data, and it's many other features. So you can see here is the example for Citano. So you just write a script like this. So it's just like a SQL select and replace and something like that. And you have to write the connector like the TypeScript, and then you can write a sync in this code some example. So I think it's a very easy for you for somebody who is not an engineer to synchronize data from different data sources. And also, I think it's many other features. And also, there are it's very popular. I think it's very popular in China, and it has many users in China and also in Singapore, and I think in India. So I think this is a very good data integration projects. And also, I want to introduce another project called Apache Docker Scheduler. I think it's more easy to use for for uh, for some other people to use big data platform. Sometimes because we often meet some challenge in our big data platform, bad performance, low latency, and also sometimes we have to manage the real time job and batch job together, and also sometimes we are lack of access and resource control, and we have inefficient backfill data process, and moreover, I think is it's very hard for non no no for people who has no engineer background to use orchestration tools, because Python, for example, Azkaban or Airflow, you have to use the Python to design the whole process. And Dolphin Scheduler is designed for you just a drag and drop to create your workflow. And also you can use Python to generate your workflow. And now it's active user, I think, is more than 3,000 users all over the world. And the start of this Apache projects is more than 10,000. So I think a very strong open source projects. And the interface is very easy. You just can drag and drop to create a SQL or Hadoop job. Then you can just drag and drop to create the whole big data analysis process. So, and it's very powerful because we call it it's multi-master and multi-worker. That means it's a scalable and it's very stable. So you can use the Dolphin Scheduler to manage a very big amount of workflows in one cluster. You needn't to create many small clusters to manage the workflows. And also, I think there will be some new features. For example, in the old version, you can just drag and drop. So what we call the what you see, then what you get to create your big data workflow. And it has a high reliability, and it has a rich workflow functions. and also it's a cloud native, and then the accessibility is very good. And now the new version, we support machine learning orchestration, support real-time task, and it support Python and YAML workflow to generate the workflow, and also support Kubernetes. So I think it's some technical features. But for people who are not very familiar with Genea, I think the what you see, then what you get to create a big data workflow is very easy to use. And there is a comparison between different open source projects. I don't want to dive into the details, but I think three projects, they have their own pros and cons. But if you are a beginner of big data users, or you are not engineer background user, I think Dolphin Scatter is really easy for you to use to orchestrate the whole things. Now it has many users. Sometime, for example, Cisco, IBM, and also many users in China or in India. So I think if you are interested in this projects, you can use for your enterprise. Now I think there's also a lot of use case in China or in Singapore, in India. I think we can mention one for Shein and Cisco, because Dolphin Scheduler can deploy on the cloud, and it can handle the very a big amount of workflow, and also it very easy to use. Then you can yourself or your team can use the Dolphin Scheduler, not only the engineer to use the Dolphin Scheduler. So there is some resource for Dolphin Scheduler. So if you are interested, so you can go to the Apache website, and also you can see something in Medium or Twitter, something like that. So I just go through the whole presentation of myself. So if you are interested about big data, or you're interested in modern data stack, you can contact me in LinkedIn, or you can email in by this email, and also you can add my Twitters. So I think that's all for my presentation, and I think the time is just okay for everyone. So do you have some questions about the modern data stack open source projects?
Perfect. Thank you very much, William. Really enjoyed that as kind of a deep dive into the technical side that some people don't often see. That it's
Yeah,
people all think it's all just at the front end, but you really need to
yeah.
kind of move that data around at the back end. Um, One thing I had a question on, and it's kind of related to security, which is coming up a lot more these days. And I've seen some CTOs are starting to get a little bit nervous of open source, because
Mm,
I don't know if you've heard the research from Socket Security, where, and this is more about the kind of maybe the JavaScript UI front end, but every
mhm,
module that you import, you're implicitly trusting 300 people. And then a
mhm,
moderately sized one can have thousands of people, and all it takes is kind of one bad actor to introduce a security hole. So, what are you doing to make sure that on every upgrade, or like, and I know it's a free piece of software, so how do you manage that kind of concern that people might have?
yeah. So that's what Apache Software Foundation doing, because we have a whole process. Um, for example, for Apache software open source projects, we have a we have a we call it PMC, project committee of the sorry, PMC, project management committee. So not only one person or one company to control this open source projects. For example, Hadoop, there will be more than 3 or 4 companies, and many, I think it's more than 30 or 40 PMC members to control Hadoop progress. So, when with the newest version released, the security of the Apache Foundation, security team of the Apache Foundation will test the whole things. Sometimes there will be some leak, some issues. They did not test it because every software have the bugs or have the issues. But we have a whole process to assure that open source projects in Apache Software Foundation is more secure than you just download open source projects from nowhere. So that is what Apache Software Foundation doing.
Excellent. No, that sounds really good because it for a while just the goodwill and good nature of people worked, but unfortunately now the bad actors are coming in a bit more enforced, particularly with the front end JavaScript kind of packages.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff Socket are giving some really entertaining examples.
Yeah, because his open source project is not Apache Software Foundation, and so we cannot help him. Yeah.
Brilliant. All right. Well, thank you very much, William.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone, and thank you for listening.